your dreams that they spoon feed to students in schools, and the breakdown of the nuclear family support system leaves many teenagers and young adults in an array of paths with little to no direction. The issue seems to be more present in the modern day than in generations long since past. Is it caution or coddling by our parents that has stunted our ability to be successful? Is it the lack of training or knowledge of the adult world? Is it the habitual or addictive nature of present-day entertainment that we pour hours upon hours into? Or is it something simpler than it appears? What can we as millennials do to cure or stunt the growth of our choice paralysis in the modern day and prevent it from greatly affecting our future children? That's from Logan.
Hey, Logan, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Steph. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Hopefully doing good as well. So yeah, tell me what is the status of the climb every mountain, just follow your dreams? Where is that these days in school? Is it kind of everywhere? Just believe. I mean, how's it coming across?
Well, it's pretty much at every level. I've been churned through the college system like everybody else, a basic state school, and when I got out, they told you the entire way, like, oh, if you do this, you're going to be great. Just be passionate. Just be, believing in what you believe in, and you'll do fine. And when you get out, it's like, no, that's not how the world works at all. Have fun with that. And I've for the past 2 years, I've been floundering about trying to recollect myself and adjust to the adult world. And over those course of the 2 years, I've talked to people, discussed the issue, and I've found that a lot of people are in the same place I am. You pass the successful people that get into careers maybe by chance or by people they know, or maybe they've worked their way up to it. But it can be fairly demoralizing sometimes to when you go through the system, to come out of it and go, oh wow, I've been kind of lied to my whole life, and I've been working so hard to get to this point, and now I have to basically start over. But maybe that's how the adult world is, and I wanted to get your opinion on that. If from somebody older than myself, I wanted to hear out your opinion. And I know you've gone through many degrees in college and many careers. After I've heard you from after I've heard you through your show. So what's your opinion on the matter? Do you think it's a problem with my generation in particular, or do you think it's more cross-generational? Right. Let's, I guess, start with that.
Is your family wealthy?
We're middle class. I grew up in a suburb. I grew up fairly well off. I won't say that I was rich by any means. I wasn't more rich than anyone else in my neighborhood. No,
but rich compared to the average of human history, or average across the world, you're like in the top 100th of 1%, I would assume. I'm not calling you like super rich, but compared to Bill Gates, or, we're all poor, but you know what I mean? Compared to human history and across the world, y'all had some resources, right?
Yeah.
Right. And when did you get your first job?
I got my first job at the age of 14, when I became a little league umpire, of all things.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's a job?
Yep.
I don't mean to diss you, man, but that sounds like a little bit of a hobby. But all right, little league umpire. Okay.
I played baseball for, a lot of my youth, and
I knew that, man. That's why I did the baseball analogy in the last group. Okay. I didn't, so go ahead.
Saw right through me. But I will agree with that. It was more of like, oh, you pick your schedule, do whatever the games you want, you get paid like $15 a game.
Okay, sorry, I should rephrase that. When did you get your first real job?
That's, I guess I should have answered from that point instead. When I first moved away to college, I got my first job working as a salesman at a retail store.
And how old were you, like 18, 19?
18, yeah, 18.
And were you kind of an eat what you kill? Like were you on salary, commission? How did that work?
I was on hourly actually, and you made commission on specific products that were of high value in the store.
Right. Okay. And is your parents' house worth a lot? There is a rhyme and reason to these questions, and I'm sorry to probe, and you don't have to answer anything you don't want to. But...
No, I'm perfectly comfortable at answering most questions actually.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is answering. I guess my childhood home was worth a good amount at the time. I could give you a ballpark answer, but I couldn't give you an exact number. But that house is gone. My parents got divorced as soon as I left for college.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Okay. Bookmark. We shall return. But
yeah, I figured you would come back to that point. Yeah. If I had to guess, if I had to take a stab at it, it was probably worth around 300,000.
No, not in your childhood home. Like what? I guess they'd gone through acid mitosis, right? So they sort everything into thirds. The parents got a third each, and then the lawyers got a third.
Yeah, something like that.
There's been a bit of a diminishment of the family fortunes. Is that a way to put it?
Yes. I through my college life, I was solely supported by my dad. He was the one bringing in the income in our when the family was together, and he made a good sum of money. But my mom walked away with most of it, and he tried his best to support me through college, and I did my best. As soon as I got to where I was, as soon as I moved out and went to college to get a job and start funding myself, because I knew that I was going to have to start doing that. I was going to have to be independent in that regard.
Right. So your dad worked his whole life to accumulate resources, and your mom used the court system to pick him clean like a Brahmin cow in an Amazonian piranha fish vat, right?
That is absolutely correct, yes.
Do you think that might have had just a little bit of an impact on your ambition to get ahead?
I have come across that point many times, and it's actually your show that has brought me to sort of that conclusion on how much the divorce influenced my choices throughout my college career.
You've
and not
heard
that
the Serpico story, right?
Remind me of it.
Right.
I can't remember at the moment.
Serpico, it's a movie with a young Al Pacino about a guy who takes on a corrupt police force. He's a cop. Now, this guy, I mean, he was dragged to hell and back. He took a bullet in the line of duty. I mean, he just worked like a dog and got shot and recovered. And he retired. He got a pension. And then his wife divorced him, took him to court, and she got his pension. So he had to walk the main streets, get shot, take down criminals, take on an entire corrupt police department, and almost get killed 6 different ways from Sunday. But all his wife had to do was have sex with him for a while and divorce him, and she got the entire pension.
It sounds like as weird as this, maybe not as weird, I guess. I'm sure you've heard many stories, but it sounds like a normalcy in my generation in particular nowadays. At least our parents' generation, giving us as kids seeing that result. It's a common occurrence.
I could work really hard, get up early, defer gratification, work into the night. I could take on all the stress and difficulty of advancing my career, and then some woman could just carve it all off with a giant legal knife and walk away into the sunset with the whole damn lot of it. Why? Because vagina. Vagina
Exactly.
ATM for the win. And it's a little tough. You know, basically, if you knew that the communist revolution was coming in 1917 and the government was going to take your factory anyway, would you work really hard to create a factory in Russia? I don't think you would. Because why do men accumulate resources? You know what a man needs to live in? I mean, if it was up to men, we'd still be living in caves. It's true. We would have developed high-definition televisions and amazing sound systems, but we'd still be living in caves otherwise. Men accumulate resources to attract a high-quality woman and to provide for his family. That's the seat and root and driving force of male ambition, right? That's why men fight hard to get the best woman and to provide for your family. Now, if women can use a man's ambition to get all of his stuff together and make all of this stuff, if women can use the court system to strip it off him, like they're pulling skin off a heretic, well, it's kind of hard to say, I'm going to accumulate all of this stuff. Logan, how much money, let's say you don't get married, how much money do you need to have a reasonably happy life? Give me a ballpark annual.
A ballpark annual. Gosh, I mean, I wouldn't really need much. So, I mean, at most, I would ask for maybe 60,000, 50,000. Like best answer.
And that may be even more than you need.
Yeah, definitely. That's living super lavishly, in my opinion.
When I was a student, I got by on $600 a month. I did.
That's crazy to hear just because of the area I live in. But
listen, I lived in an expensive neighborhood, but I had a little room in a house with 4 gay guys and a lesbian. Boy, it was a really tidy place, except for the lesbian room. That was messy as hell. But it was $270 for everything, like internet and utilities. It's just a little room in a house. No cell phones, no nothing like that. I biked everywhere, didn't even have a bus pass, cooked a lot, big vats of pasta, big vats of vegetables, big soups, just so you can carve stuff. I almost never ate out, and when I did, I'd literally go to the student newspaper. You would have 2-for-1 coupons for a Subway shop. And, I'd go, eat one, freeze the other. You can really live on very little. It's amazing how much ramen noodles you can fit into a balding head. It really is quite astonishing. And so you can, it's a pretty good life. I mean, you don't want to be raising a family on that particular way of doing things. Right. But I wasn't sitting there like, oh man, if I only had a hat, I mean, I worked in the summers. I pulled money in, and I had a little 386 notebook back in the day, and man, it was a disaster. I was in a bank. It fell, broke the backlight, cost me $200. Boy, that's back when $200. Oh no, now I can't eat for June. I have to go to people's friends. I go to friends' parents' houses and just be hungry and hope that they notice, right? Hey, given that you're chewing on the tablecloth, would you like some soup? So, no, God, you could live. And I'm talking like no dating. Like if you just wanted to do your thing, travel a little bit, have a reasonably comfortable little place or whatever. I mean, you don't need much, right? I mean, if you live in a city, you really don't need a car. In fact, a car is just a pain in the ass, right? So I'm just saying you could get by on not much. I mean, I think honestly, if you got $2,000 a month after taxes, you're not living lavishly, but it's pretty comfortable.
Yeah, agreed. And at the job I do now, I make a very comfortable living with the place that I've set myself up with, and despite the area that I live in. So it's worked out very well for me as it's worked out very well for me as a single individual white male.
Yeah, and you can get some roommates. I mean, who doesn't like to come home from a hard day at work to a masturbating Welshman? I mean, come on. You get your basic roommate situation. I mean, I've been without, parental support since I was 15, and, I just took in roommates and worked a bunch of jobs. And, I'm not saying, I don't want to say it's blasé like it was just so much fun, but, you can make things happen. And so we live, like a lot of young men in particular, live in this world of random family court theft. They've seen it. They've seen how did it affect your father?
Oh, man. Well, it was really rough for a while, and there's one thing that I take away from my dad more than anything else, and he values his family more than anyone, despite that, and more importantly, he values his kids more than anybody else.
Wait. When he values his wife, who took all this stuff from him.
Oh no! Sorry. When the family's together, obviously. He
values his kids. He survived his wife.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood what the word family meant.
We're not. That is not the situation going on.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I just want to be clear on what's going down.
No, I understand. Well, and to make a very long, very hard story short, because I'm sure it's going to sound much like the same through how a lot of fathers have gone through in this age. He lost pretty much everything and was homeless. He was sleeping on his best friend's couch in my hometown, and I couldn't do anything to help him because he was figuring out how to get his life back on track.
And if you owe and you miss a payment, you can go straight to jail, and then your payments accumulate, and then you got to come out of jail, and you got to try and pay those accumulated payments by trying to get a job, having gone to jail.
And not only that, my mother, in the time of the divorce, had racked up his credit cards to past the point of the ability to. I'm blanking on the term at the moment, but basically racking up past their limits before the divorce went through.
Wow.
It was rough. He lost the house. He lost the house to her. He lost everything except his job and.
Oh, was she doing that to rack up her expenses to the point where his alimony was even higher?
Possibly. She knows her way around money. I won't deny that she's intelligent in that regard. But I wouldn't put it past her to do something like that.
Sounds like she knows her way around money the way a hunter knows his way around bullets.
Yes.
Yikes.
That is somewhat exactly right. But even despite all of that, he kept supporting me and my younger sister, and even my older brothers, who were from a different marriage entirely for him. And he did everything he could to support us.
Wait, this was his second divorce?
Yes.
What's with his choices?
I've asked that question myself, but I've never asked him in particular.
Logan, if you want to free up your ambitions, you might need to understand what happened with your father and his choices so that you feel a little more comfortable not making the same ones.
Okay, does
that make sense? Like if your father chose two women and got two divorces, you really need to figure out where he went wrong so you don't make the same mistake, right? Because if you make the same mistake, I mean, God, what a nightmare, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, my older brother's my one older brother has a family of his own now, and but the people that felt the brunt of this particular divorce was me and my sister, and my sister was stuck at home dealing with all of it. She was I guess in custody of my mom. I don't even know if that battle even really happened.
Wait. But your mom had custody of your sister?
I think so. I couldn't tell you one way or another, but she stayed with my mom.
Right.
And I mean, my dad didn't have anywhere to go for the first year, so I don't blame her in that regard. She was still in high school, so. But anyways, do
you know what the precipitating incident was for the divorce?
Oh, that's a complicated answer, but I have asked this question to him and to my mom, but she has given me an answer that I think you've heard 1,000 times. And you even said on your show, and I've sat there listening to him like, oh my God, those same words came out of my mom's mouth. I mean, it's the same for her. It was the same, script as any other, woman who is, divorced a man and taken everything he has. It was his fault. He was cheating on me. I had letters, but I don't really know where they are.
Wait, do you think she's lying about accusing your father of infidelity?
Absolutely, 100%. Because she was committing it herself during the divorce.
So she's saying to you, and you think she's lying, Logan, your father cheated on me. She's disparaging your father to gain points with you about the divorce.
That is correct.
Oh, gross. That's so
And
gross. I mean, even if it was true, you should never know about it.
No, and I only know my mom was cheating on my dad before the divorce was official, because I saw some guy that I didn't know walking around outside my house with her at 2 a.m, and it was a traumatic experience for a 18-year-old leaving home and lost everything in terms of a family. I mean, I've analyzed that through and through for the past 5, 6, 7 years now.
I'm sorry, Logan. Can I just interrupt what you're saying?
Oh no, go
with all
ahead,
due
please.
sympathy. I hate to do this, but I just wanted to mention something to parents going through a divorce. Can I just mention something and tell me if it makes sense to you? Okay, parents going through divorce, shut up. Stop talking to your children. Shut up. They're not your little fucking therapists. They're not your friends. They're not your buddies. They're your kids. Shut up. Stop talking to them about what happened in the marriage. Stop talking to them about your new lover. Stop talking to them about infidelity. Stop bringing out all of this marital family shit and spreading it all over their fucking cupcakes, okay? Shut up. Stop talking. Go talk to your therapist. Go talk to your lawyer. Okay, no, don't talk to your lawyer. It's too expensive. Go talk to your friends. Do not talk to your children. Do not bring them in to what happened. I don't care if you're 80 and your kids are 60. Shut up. Zip it. Close. Throw away the key. Your kids should not hear it. Now, if your kids come to you with a question, answer honestly. But don't bring this stuff up. And don't let your kids see you walking around with a guy at 2 o'clock in the morning unless he's 70 years old and it's an emergency plumbing situation. Okay, that's it. You can go ahead. I just wanted to mention that.
I couldn't have said it better myself, honestly. So what I'm getting at here is that I don't think, and to answer your question fully as to what happened, I don't think I'll ever get the absolute truth of what happened. I can put pieces together and make my own assumptions. But I know that according to my dad and people that I've talked to in the family, that my dad did everything to try and put it back together, and my mom refused to fix it. At first, it started with the reason of, oh, you ride a motorcycle and you're going to get hurt, and I can't keep dealing with this, and
wait, how long were they married for?
At the time of the divorce, it was coming up on 20 years.
And had he ridden a motorcycle for, I guess, when he was younger, or is this something he just jumped into later in life?
He jumped into it later in life. He rode motorcycles before, but never like street bikes. It was always dirt bikes and stuff. And he started riding motorcycles, street motorcycles, because the commute to work was atrocious in a car, and he had to drive a truck. So in order to cut the commute time in literally half, so he wasn't coming home at like 10 o'clock at night, he decided to ride a motorcycle. And he is a bit of a speed junkie too. So he goes fast, and sometimes I mean, he did get into big accidents, and I certainly wasn't happy that he did, even though I ride motorcycles myself. But I don't blame him for what he did. I knew he was thinking of his family in that regard. He wouldn't have done it. I don't think he would put himself in harm's way like that unless he was, because that's just the type of guy he is. And maybe I'm wrong, but what I do know is that this issue wasn't an issue until she made it such a big issue that it caused a divorce.
Wait, so she divorced him because he rode a motorcycle and got into an accident or two?
Yeah, and the accident wasn't even immediately before the divorce. I mean, the last accident he had was like, I think when I was 14.
Right.
So 4 years prior, 3 years prior. I mean,
so it really wasn't the motorcycle.
No, it wasn't. We all knew it wasn't the motorcycle.
Did she shack up with someone else fairly quickly afterwards?
That's the thing, Stefan. She got married. So they got divorced in August of 2011.
No. Too much detail. Just say they got divorced in August of X and go on.
So excuse me. Sorry about that. They got divorced in August and she remarried in November.
August, September, October. Wow. 3 to 4 months. Ugh. Fairly safe to say she had a bit of a side piece waiting in the wings. Okay.
Yeah, easily.
But wait. She got remarried. And the kid's mostly grown. Doesn't that mess up her alimony?
I have no idea on that regard. I didn't get any of the financial details. And I read the divorce papers before I left home, and that was all I saw in terms of finances. Afterwards, I was so far removed from everything that I didn't get any information on that. I
would say try and get some information on that. I mean, I sure as hell hope your dad wasn't giving money to a woman who shacked up with a new guy within months after divorcing him after being married for 20 years.
Yeah.
How's the new guy? The new guy who was happy to sleep with a married woman, we're going to assume, and happy to take in a woman who just bounced out of a 20-year relationship and has a daughter living with her who's pretty traumatized, as are all the other kids, and still going through high school. So, how was he?
I didn't like him for obvious reasons. I didn't like him as somebody who moved in so quickly and without a second thought and thought that it was okay and tried to play the part that my dad did and failed horribly. I refuse to still call him stepfather because I don't believe he is, even if that is true. But at this point
you still have a relationship with your mom, right?
Recently, she has reached out and attempted to have a relationship with me, and I have.
I'm not criticizing. I just wanted to clarify.
Oh no! I struggled with that for a long time. I shut her out of my life for a long time, and then she reached out to me and wanted to have a mother and son relationship again. I said okay, but you know, this is where it gets difficult to explain, but and this might trudge into a whole other subject, but my biggest problem with my mom was that she was an alcoholic. And
oh right, but you see, it was your father's risky motorcycling that was the problem. Nothing risky about being an alcoholic, say. Oh
yeah.
Sorry,
and,
go ahead.
She emotionally abused me and my sister when we were growing up.
How so?
I'll give you one example. My sister wasn't the cleanest of persons, and so her room was messy one day, and she was about...
you mean tidiest or cleanest? The two things are...
Or tidiest,
okay,
excuse me. She wasn't
so
very
she bathed,
tidy.
She just didn't organize her environment.
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
Yes. And so my mom walked in drunk, and she started telling my sister to clean, like, you need to clean this room up right now, like, and just started, the situation started escalating, and my sister kept telling my mom, I'll do it tomorrow, and she wanted her to do it now, and it was like 9 o'clock at night. We have school tomorrow.
And your mom was obviously drunk in this situation?
Very much so, yes.
Right. Yeah, so the whole problem in the household isn't that mom's coming home drunk and yelling at people. The problem is some mess on the floor. Yeah, got it. Okay.
And she yelled at my sister and caused her to cry, to the point where she was bawling in her room telling my mom, please stop yelling at me. And so I not being able to take it anymore, I jumped out of my room and got in between them, and I told my mom to back off. And I honestly don't remember the comment because I was just so filled with adrenaline at that point, that it was something snarky about me being an older brother and standing up for my sister. And then she walked out and left my sister alone. But I had to do a similar thing to break up a fight between her and my dad close to divorce, because they were screaming at like 11:30 at each other. And so I don't know, she would yell at us, me and my sister, a lot when she was drinking, and when she wasn't, it was like a completely different person. But now all I see is the composed person. Now that I'm older, I can feel like I can see for who she truly is.
Wait, so sorry, she stopped drinking?
No, even though she claims that she has. When I go home, when I go to her house and have dinner with her and what's left of my extended family, she gets drunk every time I go there still. It hasn't stopped. But I will say something maybe to her credit, maybe, and it was drunk. She was drunk the last time I was there. She said that she really messed up during during the relationship with my dad, and she's really sorry for it. I don't know if I necessarily believe her in her drunken splendor, but she's never owned up to anything she's ever done like that. Even drunk. And I'm not really sure what to make of that. And I know this has gone fairly off from the original question, but maybe you have that in mind.
No, it's not at all off.
But after 7 years, she's finally said something along the lines as if she's owning up to a semblance of what she did to me. And my
she said it while she was drunk.
Mate,
if she says it while she's sober to your father, that's different. Was she drunk? How much of your childhood was she drunk for?
It was a lot less when I was younger, although there were certain situations that I don't feel very comfortable getting into when I was very young, like 5 years old, that there were events with her being drunk when I was younger that were still I wouldn't call them, they were more or less scarring on me to the point where I don't drink at all.
Where she was verbally abusive or dangerous, or?
It's going to sound...
Again, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. I can't quite picture it.
It was... Let me paint a picture for you, Stefan. Imagine as a 5-year-old young boy, I don't mind telling the story, really. This particular one, at least. But imagine as a 5-year-old boy, you wake up and your mom is standing in the doorway. It's completely dark, and she's not responding to you. She walks over and then collapses on you in the middle of the night.
Oh my God!
And you can't get up because her weight is too much for me to push her off. So I'm stuck under her for about 30 minutes.
And she's dead drunk, like passed out?
She's passed out completely until my dad, who has been looking for her, found her collapsed on top of me and brought her out of the room and helped me get back to sleep.
Of course, as a kid, you think she's either sick or dead or what, right?
I honestly didn't even I thought it was a dream for a while, but when I talked to my dad about it, he remembers that time vividly, and he told me that they were at a party and she had come home and he was in the bathroom and
why did your dad marry a drunk though?
I want to say, and again, this, before you even say it, this is probably a question I should ask him.
Yeah, no, I mean, you go ask him, and that's sort of... Did your mom ever drive you when she was drunk?
No.
Okay, that you
No.
know of.
No, that I know of, no. But she never drove us around drunk. She never hit us. There was never any physical abuse in my house. But there was a lot of verbal.
Some people who are drink, and some people who aren't, they have this amazing ability to say, and the reason I bring this up is when you talked about how she said something about you being the older brother and protecting, they have this ability to say stuff that's just like, shiv in the chink of the armor. It's just the right thing in the right tone in the right way that's just like, I don't know if she's one of those kinds of drunks.
No, she's exactly that. That's absolutely right.
Right.
She gains a very fiery tongue when she's drunk.
Vicious, right?
Yeah, vicious. And it doesn't matter who she's talking to. It could be to anyone. And in the grand scheme of things, I've confronted the issue more or less to a degree for a long time. And I don't forgive my mom for what she did, and I never will. There's no amount of therapy that will convince me of that. But and I don't think I ever should. But if she's willing to try and have a relationship with me, I'm willing to give way on that, as long as I can keep her at arm's length.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. But I just want to, whatever decision you make is your decision. Obviously, I don't tell people what to do, but I think it's important to understand the ramifications of this decision, Logan.
Okay.
Let's say tomorrow you meet the woman of your dreams. I don't know. Are you dating at the moment? Are you?
Yes, I've been dating a girl for about 6 months.
Okay.
7 months now.
Is she, would you say she's a mature woman?
Yeah.
Wise and all that?
Sure. Yeah. I think
sounds, yeah, sure. It sounds a little off the cuff there, brother. Yes-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah. I think I don't know if I would particularly use the word wise, but she knows she's very much a mature person who can take care of not only herself, but because I think of this, and I told her when we got together that I want to, I'm in this for a long haul. I want a long-term relationship. I'm looking for a future with somebody, and I mean, she was on board with it, and she understands where I'm coming from, and I've made very clear.
Okay,
of what
sorry, you're just making a bunch of noise here.
Sorry.
So let's get back to the issue.
Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
So let's say that you're thinking at some point in the future of marrying her, right?
Right.
How does she feel about you getting back in touch and getting back into a relationship with your mom, given that now that's her mom-in-law and she's going to be all over the place, particularly if you have kids, right?
Right. Which is the goal.
Yeah. So, because you see, it's not just you, it's your future, and it's everyone in your future who's going to be impacted by your mother, your drunken, verbally abusive mother.
Right.
How does she feel about it? What does she think about it?
She's met my mom once. I live fairly far apart from my hometown.
Well, sure, I understand all of that, and you can do the distance thing, but trust me, you're still a young man. When parents get older, the pressure to be involved ratchets up and this is true even more for moms who tend to outlive dads by years and years and years, right?
Right.
Right now, she may not need that much. What happens when she does? You gonna ditch it on your sister? Well, you're the girl. You got to take care of the aging mom.
My girlfriend isn't fond of her at all. She can sympathize with the idea that I'm trying to have a relationship with my mother, but she also can see that it can be damaging in the future. And you've put out, doesn't want to. I mean, she doesn't want to put a ton of pressure on me or anything about it, but she does want me to consider the idea of it might not be a good idea. Especially if she keeps in her old habits, especially if she hasn't changed at all. If I've learned anything, it's that people are very, very, very difficult to change. They'll either change for a minute and go right back to what they're doing, or never do it at all.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because with regards to if you want to become a father, then who you expose your children to isn't just your personal choice anymore, right? Your children, right, when they're born, they have no relationship with your mother. And that's the decision that you have to make with your social circle. You know, when you become a father, then who your children are exposed to, that's on you.
Yes.
Right? And I'm just pointing that out. Obviously, your decision is your decision, but you can't expose I don't think you can reasonably or morally expose your children to massive bucket loads of drunken, verbally abusive grandma because they have no history. They have, you don't have the right to inflict that on your kids, if that makes any sense.
No, I that's a valid point. I looking at it that way, I agree with you.
Because you're talking about it in isolation. You know, well, my mother wants this, and I've decided this, but I'm just saying, if you open that door and you have kids, your mom needs to not be ever drunk around them. She needs to not verbally abuse them, and she needs not to verbally abuse you as a father. Certainly never in front of your kids, because that'll be entirely destructive to your authority. And let's say you go visit her and she starts screaming at you, whatever, then you've got to drive back and be a father while you're jangled up from all of this history and so on. It comes down to your kids. You have to do what is best for your kids, what keeps you in the right mindset for being an effective and competent father who's in control, who is worthy of respect, and your kids are going to judge you by the company you keep.
If I can pose a question for you, Stefan, really quick, and it's related to what we were just talking about. The reason I even gave my mom a chance was actually because of my dad. He said that he said that even though I hate your mom, and I don't blame you for disliking the person that she is, she's still your mom.
Not an argument. Identification of correct womb holder, not an argument.
So in just to clarify, in your opinion, you don't think that's a valid point or an argument at all?
Well, it's a statement of fact.
With the threat that she poses.
It's a statement of fact that she is your mother. You did not choose her, right?
No.
Your father chose your mother and hates her. But Dad, That's the mother of your children. That's the wife you chose, you lived with for decades, who gave birth to your flesh and blood. Now he gets to hate her. He chose her. You didn't choose her.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. I can't see how that goes astray, but I'm certainly happy to hear arguments to the contrary.
No, I'm willing to admit when I could potentially be wrong in my way of thinking, and I think I was taking his implication of "it's your mom" as a term of significance, as it making the argument for itself.
It is significant, Logan, because she's your mother and had power and authority over you. She had the greatest possible responsibility for positive, peaceful, respectful, wise, and mature parenting of you. See, it's funny because people, it sounds to me, tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me, Logan, like your father is saying to you, but she's your mom. Like that imposes some obligation on you. I mean, didn't he ever goddamn well say to her, you're a mom, stop drinking and falling on the children and scaring the shit out of them. You're the mom, grow up. The obligation is on the parent. Not the child. Because the parent chooses to have a child, the child does not choose the parent. The parent has authority, the child does not. The parent is bigger, the child is smaller. The parent has legal authority, the child does not. The parent has freedom, the child does not. The parent can leave the relationship, the child cannot. So because there's this massive power disparity, the obligation, she's your mom, yes. That means the obligation for good behavior falls infinitely more on her than on you. And by the way, given that you live a long way away now, motherhood is past. You know, these people who say, well, I'll always be your father. It's like, yeah, well, biologically that's true. But if you always have to remain someone's father, you haven't done a good job as a father. Because they're supposed to grow up. The kids are supposed to grow up and not need you. I hope they want you, I hope my daughter will always want me in her life. But I hope she's not always going to come running to me for advice about everything, because that means I haven't really done a very good job. Right? So, but if your mom is not, if you're not calling her up for advice and finding her a positive impact in your life and doing all, she's like really important, and your experience is not complete till you've chatted about that with your mom, and you always enjoy her perspective, and she brings warmth and humor and wisdom and great things to your life and so on. If she just lives a long way away and you haven't talked to her for years, mother is a historical biological relationship, not a current obligation, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does.
Parent, it's a verb, not a noun.
Well, and I from the parenting standpoint, I've heard your talks in other callers, especially on here on the parenting idea, and I couldn't agree with you more. I guess I just never put two and two together in my own life. Your
father is not
parents.
talking about your mother, Logan. He's talking about himself. He's trying to create parental obligations to your mom in the hopes of getting the spillover to dad, in my humble opinion.
I
don't have to answer. I'm just telling you it's a possibility. I can't say for sure. I'm just saying what might be possible. Logan, big giant obligation to parent unit. There might be a slight conflict of interest in this advice. It's just a possibility. I just wanted to mention that. So, regarding, the follow your dream stuff, just believe in yourself. Magic, follow your dreams. That's all girl talk. And that's young, attractive girl talk. The world is such a friendly place, says the woman who's a 10. It's like, sure is, because eggs, right? Yeah. So right. This, now that more and more women are teaching boys and young women, right, the teachers and so on, the follow your dream stuff, well, sure, because when you're a young, attractive woman, the world is your oyster and people throw stuff at you. And I told this story before. I used to go to a yoga class and there was this woman in it who was jaw-droppingly stunning, so I would chat her up and all that, chat with her and so on. And, one day she's like, yeah, I'm thinking of opening a boutique, but I'm having trouble finding investors. And part of me, I'd spoken to this woman, 10 or 15 times for a few minutes at a time. And part of me is like, hey, you need investors? And it's like, this isn't even an acquaintance. And I had to literally, whip my dick with a wet towel, Stop it. Stop
Right.
spraying money at this woman. It's not how you want to get it, right? And
Right.
I literally had to bite my tongue. I'll punch you in the nads, man. I'll do it to myself. I'll punch you in the nads if you say anything about investing in this woman because she's pretty. Like, I literally had to force because it's like resources must provide resources. We'll have business meetings, and then when we have business meetings and we're planning things, she'll realize what a great guy I am, an egg champion of the world, right? I mean, that's that's the way it rolls. That's the way it is.
Right.
So she can say, well, you follow your dreams. You want to become an entrepreneur. Next thing you know, you're an entrepreneur. It's like, well, sure, because eggs, right? But for men, It's just a little bit harder than that, right? I mean, if you're Steve Wozniak looking for investors and going to yoga class, you're not going to have a whole lot of hot women throwing money at you because you're Steve Wozniak, even though if they were wise, they would. But, the follow your dream stuff and just believe and faith in yourself and it will happen. It's like, well, sure. If you're a young, attractive woman, you're operating in an entirely different economic universe than men. Now, maybe if you're some hot guy or whatever, but all that means is you're going to get ass. It doesn't mean you're going to get money. Well, I guess some of them, like if you're a real himbo and you want to become a sugar mommy's plaything or whatever, the life-sized Ken doll with anatomically incorrect, according to Ken doll genitalia. But for the most, except for like the 1 in 1,000 guys who's that way inclined and that hot and that concerned with their physical appearance and not gay. But for most men, it's like, yeah, we don't get that kind of greasy slide towards infinite resources that young women experience. And then, of course, when women hit the wall and hey, I followed my dreams and now it's a nightmare, right? So this lie of follow your dreams does, I think, come a lot from women not, like they confuse their own sexual market value with personal worth. Like maybe this woman from the yoga class from many years ago in a galaxy far, far away, maybe she did end up with a whole bunch of cucked up, waiting in line, beta orbiting male investors. And she's like, I just believe in myself. And next thing you know, I have a boutique. And it's like, and they think that that's maybe because they're such great business people. It's like, no, you're a young, attractive woman. Guys want to throw resources at you in the hopes of lassoing an egg or two, right? I mean, so that is not how the world works in reality for men. Right. And so, the follow your dream stuff. I don't know why anyone goes to a bar with money. You just make so many friends and they'll just buy you drinks. It's like, not if you're a guy, they don't, right? I guess unless you're some new ballet dancer at a gay bar just moved into town and the chicken hooks are, right? So, this follow your dream stuff, men don't get the massive geyser of resources sprayed at them, to use a rather unsubtle analogy, that young, attractive women do. So women have a lot of this, click your heels 3 times and you're in the Kansas of riches, right? So, and look at your mom, right? Your mom didn't work for the money. She just got it through the lawyers. I just believed in myself, sued the shit out of your dad, and next thing you know, I had money.
And she's well off now, because of her new husband as well. He brings home a lot of money too. So
right. So you've got the example of one guy who worked hard and has nothing, your dad, and another mom, like another parent, who was drunk and has ended up wealthy. Drunk, didn't work outside the home, and ended up wealthy.
Yeah.
But you don't have tits, man. At least I hope not. So,
no.
I'm sorry. You don't have the V card. You got to play the P card. And the P card, you turn it over, and it's a whole lot of work. Sorry, you don't get the freebies. You do get the self-respect, autonomy, and independence, which does suck a little bit at sometimes, but I think it's worth it in the long run. But you don't get to pay the V card. You didn't win the V lottery, and therefore, you're going to have to work for it. But given that your dad worked for it and enjoyed your mom's company so much, he drove dangerously on a motorbike, maybe traction would be better than going home. But I think the follow your dream stuff, that's just a It's a lie that attractive women tell themselves so that they sound more competent to themselves than they are. And some of them are. It's just that it's resources because they're pretty and young and fertile, and that's the way it works. So, if you want a family, if you have a woman who you love and trust enough with your life, because that's the way it works these days, right? In America in particular, I mean, you get divorced. Male suicide rate is not low among men who are divorced. I mean, it is a death sentence at times, and it's certainly a death of sexual market value for a lot of men. Like, hey, I'm 52, I'm living in a car. Would you like to go on a date? Hello? Hello? Anyone? Echo, right? So it is a nightmare existence if you get divorced these days. Now, this doesn't mean you can't get married. I mean, I married and very, very happy with it. But you really got to choose well. And in order to choose well, you really got to understand what went wrong in the past, what went wrong with your family. And if you don't feel like you have enough trustworthy people in your life, particularly your girlfriend, that if you get married, she's never going to do to you what your mom did to your dad, your ambition is not going to activate. Why would I want to? It's more painful. It's more painful to have worked hard, made all this money, and then have someone you hate take it all from you. And it's one thing to be robbed blind in an alley of your week's earnings. It's another thing for someone who claimed to love you at one point to scoop out your money through your ass with a giant flaming ice cream cone or scooper thing, right? I mean, that's terrible. That old joke is like, I'm not going to get married next time. I'm just going to go out, find a woman I hate, and buy her a house. So that is an awful, awful experience. It destroys not just love in the present, love in the future, but love even in the past. Even the idea of love, you end up thinking you were loved, thinking you were treasured, thinking you were respected. Boom! Cold female hypergamy kicked in. Out comes the money. Out comes the heart. Out comes the future.
And as kids, me and my sister, I understood for a portion of it what was going on, but to be battered around like we were, and to really not understand it, and it was, I don't want to try and victimize myself here by any means, but it was hard on us as well. I mean, I'm not trying to say that my dad's agony was any.
No, it was. But your dad chose your mom. He's causally responsible in the marriage because he chose her. She was drinking when he chose her. She was drinking. I hope she wasn't drinking when she was pregnant, but she was drinking. No. She was falling on the kids, and your dad had the choice. You didn't. So he can kick himself, but you sure as hell were just, it's the ABC, the accidental biological cage, just where you happened to be born. Your father chose. You didn't. So in many ways, it was harder on you.
I can say with certainty that the drinking started after me and my sister were born. I know why it started.
Are you are you going to try and make the case? And I appreciate you telling me that, Logan. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're not going to try and make the case that your mother didn't have any dysfunction before she drank or before you guys were born?
Oh, no.
Okay, good. He married a problematic woman, and he either didn't try and stop her from drinking, or, I mean, she was stay at home with you guys, right?
For the first 10 years, yes. And then she
was drinking.
Yes.
You know what you can't do when you're a parent? You can't drink. I mean, maybe a beer at dinner when your kids are older or whatever, but you just can't drink. What if there's an emergency? What if you got to drive somewhere? What if you really need your wits about you because one of your kids fell down and cracked their heads? You can't drink. Sorry. It's one of the things you give up, like clubbing and shaving. You can't drink. So he had a mom who was supposed to be a parent. You're operating The light machinery of childhood. Well, you can't go operate a forklift truck when you're drinking. You can't drive a car, and you damn well shouldn't. You can't operate heavy machinery. How about you don't parent when you're drinking?
There's a live line of movie I'm sure you've heard before. I can't remember off the top of my head what the name of the movie was called, but it's, you need a license to fish.
Parenthood.
Parenthood. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
You need a license to fish. You need a license to have a cat. You need a license to own a dog. But any butt-wielding asshole can be a parent.
Yeah, that one.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie. His head shake in that movie is a thing of beauty. But anyway. Or the bit at the end, did we win? Did I win? Anyway, okay.
But that line rings absolutely true.
Yeah.
And I guess bringing this all sort of back around, I will obviously wouldn't deny that this absolutely, I would never deny that this doesn't contribute at all to the original question. I think it contributes a lot to it, and it's something I've come to but hasn't really, I guess, fully accepted it like I have with this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I mean, and I'm sure you've guessed it by now. In college, I had no guidance, none, not even from my dad, because he was too busy fixing his life. And
how on earth are your parents who've just detonated their own marriage and their own lives and destroyed massive amounts of wealth and traumatized their children? And how is your dad, who chose a woman who's going to, within a couple of months, get married to some new guy, and how's your mom, who did that, how the hell are they going to give you advice with any credibility whatsoever?
Yeah.
People say, but she's your mom, when they have nothing to offer you. I mean, if the only thing that I have to say to my daughter is, but I'm your father, it's like, that's the saddest, most pitiful thing I could say. I will never say that.
Well, I mean, it's a cry for authority where it's trying to dominate over somebody when you can't make an argument for it.
But I was the sperm donor. Come on. That's all you got? You got nothing.
It's an association of title. It's trying to imply that it has as much weight as trying to logically talk something out.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if there was a universe where women who detonated their families because of selfishness never got to see their grandkids. You can't really do much as an individual to reform the family courts. There's a whole bunch of legal interests and lawyers and judges and women and like all of that. And you can't as an individual. But what if there was a socially imposed cost for detonating your family out of selfishness? What if there was a socially imposed cost? Just theoretically. What if there was ostracism to selfish women who detonated their families for no damn good reason other than perhaps monkey branching up to some other richer guy, or who knows what, right? What if there was social cost of that? Would they think twice about it? Oh, you can get all the money if you want. You just can't get anything else. I don't know. I'm a big one for voluntary solutions, and I'm a big one for ostracism where ostracism is due. But, and I'm not, maybe your mom's in this category or not. I don't know. But I'm just saying, when you can't reform the state, and none of us have that power to do that individually, but you can't reform the state, there is still a whole host of other incentives available to people to alter people's behavior so that they think twice before pulling the pin on the family grenade.